Hey man, you were live. And sometimes that's okay. Something of a strange Emily Dickinson poem, if I do say so myself, but we're here. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we're here for another poetry discussion, which will appear, of course, in two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one being the Emily Dickinson playlist, a playlist of poems, a playlist of videos dedicated to the greatest poet that ever was, and number two being the poetry discussion playlist, now over 700 videos strong. The poem in question today, you almost open. So I've got the great big book of Emily Dickinson, the complete poems of Emily Dickinson, and you open it up and you get to reading, and you come to this poem, and it's almost as if someone else has stuck this inside the book. Is it not? But the poem in question is A Something in a Summer's Day, and it reads as such. A something in a summer's day, as slow her flambeau burn away, which solemnizes me. A something in a summer's noon, a depth, an azure, a perfume, transcending ecstasy. And still within a summer's night, a something so transporting bright, I clap my hands to see. Then veil my too inspecting face, lest such a subtle, shimmering grace flutter too far for me. The wizard fingers never rest, the purple brook within the breast still chafes its narrow bed. Still rears the east her amber flag, guides still the sun along the crag, his caravan of red. So just real quick, that first stanza. Flambeau is like a torch. Solemnizes is actually, from what I can find, an interesting word, because you get to this word in the poem and you think solemn. All right, we're back in Emily Dickinson. But solemnize, I from what I can gather, means to celebrate ceremoniously, sort of to make a show of this, to make official a celebration. It's not to make sad. It's not to make solemn. So there's that. And then let's go sort of stanza by stanza through this. A something in a summer's day, as slow her flambeau burn away, which solemnizes me. There is something in the burn of summer that makes me reverent of the grandeur. A something in a summer's noon, a depth, an azure, a perfume, transcending ecstasy. High noon in the summer day is simply as close to orgasmic as you can get without, well, some hubba hubba. And still within the summer's night, a something so transporting bright, I clap my hands to see. There's something light, even about the darkness, that brings me to applaud. Then veil my too inspecting face, lest such a subtle shimmering grace flutter too far for me. This might all be too much for me. I will revel too hard. I will lose control. Then we get to the most interesting, perhaps, stanza in the poem. The wizard fingers never rest. The purple brook within the breast still still chafes its narrow bed. I've seen a lot of conjecture about this stanza. I've seen a lot of figuring what the wizard fingers are, what the purple brook is, all sorts of things. Really, I think that they're all wrong. I contest that this is a reference to wild lavender. I think that it could be that simple. You've seen, I should have brought up a picture of lavender, but the way lavender grows, you could see why it would be called wizard fingers. The purple brook, a reference to uh, water, because the way that it would shimmer in or sway in the wind. I think that's all that we're doing here is pointing towards the wild flowers. I think that's what that is. Still rears the east. Her amber flag still guides the sun along her crag. His caravan of red. This is a reference to the sun coming up in the morning. The red hues in the sky. The way that this light is red and intense, carrying, quote unquote, the sun up. So looking on the night, the morn conclude the wonder gay. I meet, coming through the dews, another summer's day. We're just going to cut to a little bit of The Fresh Prince to explain that stanza. Here it is, the groove slightly transformed, just a bit of a break from the norm, just a little something to break the monotony of all the hardcore dance that has gotten to be. A little bit out of control, it's cool to dance. But what about the groove that soothes, that moves romance? Give me a soft, subtle mix, and if it ain't broke, then don't try to fix it. And think of the summers of the past. Adjust the bass and let the alpine blast. Pop in my CD and let me run a rhyme. And put your car on cruise and lay back, 'cause this is summertime. It is fitting that we do have from The Fresh Prince an ode to summer, because this seems to be really part of the human experience. You can find lyrics from songs to summertime, just dedicated to the summer. You can find poems dedicated to summer all over. And is it possible that we have a poem with a through line here in Emily Dickinson so simple, the through line of mirth from the greatest poet that ever poeted? Maybe so. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that, it being okay, is the point. If we saddle ourselves with intellectualism and doubt, if we weight ourselves with contemplation and the shame of wrongs both big and small, if we strain ourselves with the ascetic in the place of the jocund all the time, maybe we lose too much of the world that surrounds us. So, we have here from Emily Dickinson an ode to the summer that is just about happiness. Maybe. Perhaps I have missed some darkness herein, but I don't think so. Especially this poem being as early in her collected poems as it is supposed to be, I believe, from the time when she was around 29. Not quite 30. If you haven't turned 30 yet, you don't know. If you have turned 30 yet, you understand that it's a breaking point in life. I'm coming up on 40, so we will see how that affects me. Negatively, I'm sure. But this idea of the summer as a celebration, I think we are all too quick to assume that it is because when we were children, we got out of school in summers, that summers feel better than the rest of the year. I don't think that's true. I think that's happenstance. The summer break, so here in the United States, we still have a summer break. From what I understand, much of the world does not. That is a vestige, that is vestigial from the time where if you were old enough to go to school, you were old enough to work. And if you were old enough to work, you were old enough to help collect food, to help sow the fields, etc. And you were needed at home. So as we moved away from an agrarian society, the summertime went from, well, you get to be at school learning things, to you have to be working the farm. It moved from that to you have to be at school learning things, to you get to have all the free time in the world. I think we believe foolhardily that the reason we feel so good about summer, even after school, is the memories of what it meant to be free for the summer. I don't think that's true. I think it is literally something about nature. I think it is seeing the sun. I think it is the warmth that makes us so jocund, mirthful, happy, if you will. But that is what we have from Emily Dickinson. If you like or appreciate this sort of thing, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.